What happens when an Italian mob boss decides old territorial agreements don't apply to him anymore? When Vittorio Amato starts collecting protection money in Gambino territory without permission, without respect, without even courtesy of conversation, how does John Gotti respond? And when the only way to settle the dispute is a 5 families commission meeting, where every boss in New York watches one man apologize to another, what does that apology cost? This is the story of the territory tax that broke every rule, and why the commission meeting at Forlini's restaurant became the moment Vittorio Amato learned that some boundaries exist for reasons more permanent than he understood. March 1988. Astoria, Queens, Gambino territory. Had been for 40 years. Every restaurant, shop, construction site, business paying protection paid Gambino collectors. That was the arrangement. That was how 5 families divided New York. Clear boundaries, clear territories, clear rules about who controlled what. Vittorio Vic the Hammer. Amato was Colombo family captain, 52, Brooklyn-based, ambitious. He looked at Astoria and saw opportunity. Greek immigrants, successful restaurants, money flowing, and in his mind, not enough Gambino presence to stop him if he moved quietly. So he sent 2 soldiers into Astoria with simple message for restaurant owners. Protection arrangement was changing. New management. Same price, different family. Pay us instead. First restaurant owner getting visit was Angelo Constantino, Greek seafood place on Ditmars Boulevard. Angelo had been paying Gambinos 15 years. When Amato's soldiers said arrangement was changing, Angelo's first thought, Gambinos sold territory or made deal. Second thought, fear, changing families without clear communication meant potential violence if he picked wrong side. He paid Amato's soldiers. So did next 3 restaurants. Within 2 weeks, Amato's crew collected from dozen establishments, generating $40,000 that should have gone to Gambino. Word reached Gotti through collectors reporting regular pickups refused because new management already collected. Gotti sat at Bergin with Sammy Gravano, listened to reports. Face showed nothing. No anger, no surprise, just calculation. Sammy wanted immediate action. Send soldiers into Astoria, confront Amato's crew, make it clear Gambino territory was not negotiable. But Gotti said no. We do this right way. First, confirm it's actually Amato. Second, reach out through proper channels. Third, give him one chance to correct this himself. If he refuses, then we take it to commission. Sammy skeptical. The commission? For this, we should just handle it ourselves. Gotti shook head. This isn't about one captain collecting where he shouldn't. This is about respect for rules keeping 5 families from war. If we let Amato break those rules without consequence, every ambitious captain in New York will think boundaries don't matter. We handle this through commission so everyone sees what happens when you ignore agreements. Gotti sent intermediary to Amato. Respectful message. We understand there's been misunderstanding in Astoria, Gambino territory. Perhaps your soldiers didn't know. Please withdraw, return money collected. We'll consider matter closed. Amato's response came back within 24 hours, not respectful. He claimed Astoria was disputed territory, that Gambino presence had weakened, that under commission rules territory not being actively protected could be claimed by another family. Bullshit, and everyone knew it. His real message, I took it, I'm keeping it. What are you going to do? Gotti smiled, hearing response. Okay, now we know where we stand. Call for commission meeting, all 5 families. I want this settled officially. Commission meeting scheduled week later, neutral ground, Forlini's restaurant, Manhattan. Closed to public, 1 long table, 5 chairs, 5 families' bosses would sit, discuss, vote on resolution. This was old-school mafia governance, system preventing all-out war between families since 1930s. When disputes arose that couldn't be settled directly, commission decided. Their decisions were final. John Gotti arrived first, wearing an impeccable charcoal grey suit, diamond ring catching the restaurant light, hair perfectly slicked back. He sat at the head of the table, not because he was the most powerful boss, though many would argue he was, but because he'd called the meeting. Sammy Gravano stood near the wall, arms crossed, watching. The other bosses arrived within minutes. Anthony Fat Tony Salerno from the Genovese family, 77 years old, legendary, wearing a simple dark suit and fedora. Carmine Jr. Persico from the Colombo family, 54, sharp dresser, sharp mind, looking uncomfortable because one of his captains was the reason for this meeting. Philip Rusty Rastelli from the Bonanno family, 70, quiet, observant, respected for his judgment. Anthony Tony Dux Corallo from the Lucchese family, 74, called Tony Dux because he'd ducked so many indictments over the years, sat with the patience of a man who'd seen everything. And finally, Vittorio Amato himself, sitting beside his boss Carmine Persico, looking confident. Too confident. He thought this was going to be a negotiation. He didn't understand yet that it was going to be a judgment. Gotti spoke first. Calm, factual. Thank you all for coming. We have a situation in Astoria, Queens. For 40 years, Astoria has been Gambino territory. Our collectors, our arrangements, our responsibility. 3 weeks ago, Captain Amato began collecting protection money from businesses in Astoria, without permission, without discussion, without respect for the established boundaries. When we reached out to resolve this quietly, Captain Amato claimed Astoria was disputed territory and refused to withdraw. I'm bringing this to the Commission because if we don't enforce our territorial agreements, we don't have agreements, we have chaos. He looked at Amato. Captain Amato, you want to explain your position? Vittorio Amato leaned forward. He'd prepared his argument. With respect to Boss Gotti, Astoria has not been actively managed by Gambino family for several years. Collections were sporadic. Protection was minimal. Under commission precedent, territory that is not being actively controlled can be claimed by another family if they demonstrate superior presence and management. I established superior presence. I collected efficiently. I provided protection. The territory should be recognized as Colombo. It was a legal argument based on a technicality that barely existed, and every boss at the table knew it. Fat Tony Salerno spoke, his voice gravelly from age and cigars. Vittorio, how long you been in this life? 32 years. 32 years and you don't understand how territory works. Territory doesn't change because collections were down for a few months. Territory changes when families negotiate and the commission approves. You didn't negotiate, you just took. That's not how this works. Carmine Persico, Amato's own boss, looked pained. Vittorio, why didn't you come to me before you did this? Amato shifted uncomfortably. I thought it was a captain's initiative. Expanding our operations, bringing in new revenue. Persico's expression hardened. A captain's initiative. You started collecting in another family's territory without clearing it with me first. You made me look like I approved this. You made my family look like we don't respect the commission rules. Do you understand what you've done? The confidence was draining from Amato's face now. He was starting to realize this wasn't going the way he'd expected. Tony Dux Corallo spoke next. John, what are you asking for here? What's the resolution you want? Gotti's answer was simple. Astoria remains Gambino territory. All money collected by Amato's crew is returned to the businesses or to us for redistribution. Captain Amato withdraws completely and permanently, and he apologizes, here, in front of this commission, for breaking the rules that keep us from killing each other. The table went quiet. An apology at a commission meeting wasn't just an apology. It was public acknowledgement of wrongdoing witnessed by the most powerful men in New York organized crime. It would be remembered. It would be repeated. It would follow Amato for the rest of his career. Carmine Persico looked at Amato, then at Gotti, then at the other bosses. That's fair. Vittorio was wrong. He acted without authority. He needs to make this right. Fat Tony nodded. Agreed. Rusty Rastelli nodded. Tony Ducks nodded. The commission had decided. 4 bosses in agreement. Amato looked around the table, realizing he had 0 support. Even his own boss had sided against him. Gotti looked at Amato directly. You have something to say, Vittorio. Amato's jaw worked. Pride versus survival. He could refuse. Walk out. But walking out of a commission meeting after a unanimous decision meant becoming an outcast. Marked. Possibly dead within a month. He swallowed. Boss Gotti, I apologize. I was wrong to collect in Astoria without permission. I was wrong to refuse your initial outreach. I disrespected the territorial agreements, and I disrespected you. I'll withdraw immediately and return all money collected. His voice was steady, but his face was flushed. The humiliation was visible. Gotti nodded. Accepted. Astoria remains Gambino territory. This matter is settled. Fat Tony Salerno lit a cigar. Good. Any other business? There wasn't. The meeting ended. The bosses stood, shook hands, left in their separate cars with their separate security details. Vittorio Amato walked out of Forlini's with Carmine Persico. In car, Persico didn't look at him. You're lucky Gotti only asked for apology. He could have asked for your life, and commission would have given it. You broke most fundamental rule, respect boundaries. You made me look weak. You're demoted. You're not captain anymore. You're soldier, and you're never setting foot in Queens again. Amato tried to argue. Persico cut him off. This conversation is over. You're alive. Be grateful. Amato's career effectively finished. He'd been rising captain with underboss ambitions, now soldier who'd been publicly humiliated at commission meeting. Nobody would trust him with real responsibility again. Back at Bergin, Sammy grinned. You made him apologize in front of everyone. That's going to hurt worse than getting whacked. Gotti sipped espresso. That's the point. If I'd killed him, he'd be martyr. His crew would want revenge. Colombo family would feel obligated to respond. But making him apologize, making his own boss throw him under bus in front of commission, that sends message to every ambitious captain in New York. Rules matter. Boundaries matter. You can't just take what you want. There's structure. There's process. You ignore it at your own risk. Story of Astoria territory dispute and commission meeting at Forlini spread through 5 families within days. Details got embellished, but core facts remained. Vittorio Amato tried to take Gambino territory. John Gotti brought him before commission. Amato forced to apologize in front of most powerful bosses in New York. It became teaching moment. Captains across 5 families used it as example, training new soldiers. This is why we respect boundaries. This is why we follow rules. Because when you don't, you end up like Vittorio Amato, demoted, humiliated, finished. For Gotti, commission meeting was demonstration of something more important than toughness. It was leadership. He could have started shooting war, killed Amato's crew, enforced control through violence. But that would have cost lives.
attracted law enforcement, damaged relationships with Colombo family. Instead, he used the system. He brought dispute to commission, presented case, got unanimous support, resolved situation without firing shot. Amato humiliated. Colombo family embarrassed. Gambino authority reinforced. Every boss reminded that Gotti understood how to use power without wasting it. That's what separated good bosses from great ones. Good bosses knew when to fight. Great bosses knew when fighting was unnecessary because system would deliver same result with less cost. Vittorio Amato lived another 3 years as soldier, never rising above diminished position, until heart attack in 1991. Astoria remained Gambino territory for rest of Gotti's tenure. Commission meeting at Forlini's became mob law. Night a boss called another boss's captain to account and got apology that echoed through organized crime for years. Gotti's reputation enhanced not because he'd been violent or cruel, but because he'd been smart enough to understand that real power doesn't always need blood. Sometimes most devastating move is making your enemy acknowledge publicly that he was wrong. That stays with a man forever. That destroys careers more thoroughly than bullets. That's the lesson Vittorio Amato learned at commission meeting. He thought he could talk his way through, and that's why nobody tried to tax Gambino territory again while John Gotti was alive to stop them.